And I think that's one of the real dangers people have to focus on when we think about a potential second Trump administration. You will take those people who were the most radical, the most dangerous, who had the proposals that were the most dangerous, and he will put them in positions of supreme power.
I think Donald Trump poses an extreme threat to American security and American prosperity. I think that a vote for Donald Trump is a vote for a fascist government.
In a bombshell new report, sources close to Donald Trump have disclosed his preferred candidates for some of the nation's most powerful offices should he be reelected to a second term. And though the names on this unholy list of cultists, fascists, and sycophants probably won't surprise you, they should utterly disturb you. But before we unpack all that, if you haven't yet, please hit that like, subscribe, and the alert bell. All right, folks, this bombshell new report comes courtesy of Axios. It's called Behind the Curtain, exclusive, how Trump would build his loyalty-first cabinet. We're going to go through some of the article, but it is extremely long, and I encourage you to go take a look at it yourself. The way the Biden-Harris official Twitter page puts it like this: Tucker Carlson as VP, Stephen Miller as Attorney General, Marjorie Taylor Greene as Chief of Staff. Trump is planning a cabinet based on loyalty to enact his MAGA agenda, including a national abortion ban, mass detention camps, banning Muslims, and more. How Trump would build his loyalty-first cabinet. You've got Kash Patel, you have Marjorie Taylor Greene, you have Steve Bannon, you have Kari Lake, you have Tucker Carlson, and you have Stephen Miller. Or another way they put it, like the first term, but way, way, way worse. If Donald Trump is president in 2025, Tucker Carlson, this is the vice president. Steve Bannon, this is the chief of staff. Stephen Miller, this is the attorney general. And Kari Lake, this is the UN ambassador. Utterly deranged. One of the authors of this expose was interviewed this morning on Morning Joe, and this is what he had to say, at least in part.
Well, one interesting thing we found out yesterday is that Melania, his wife, is pushing for Tucker Carlson to be the vice presidential pick, which might strike some people as ludicrous and kind of anti-Trump in that, like, Trump doesn't like somebody who can compete with him on the public stage. She's pushing hard and making it clear that she might be out there more campaigning for the ticket if he is on it. But it's below there that you should really pay attention. Like Stephen Miller, who was the architect of everything you saw in immigration in the first term and who wanted to push the extent of laws and customs much further. He could end up as your attorney general or the head of Department of Homeland Defense. He's going to be in a place of great power. He has written and spoken very clearly about what he wants to do, whether it's detainment camps or it's mass deportation of people who are here illegally. He's been very clear about what he's going to do. There's a guy, Kash Patel. You should Google him. Just look at what he's had to say about using the machinery of government to go after political opponents, including, he's very specific, should they jail critics in the media of the president? He would say, hell yes. He could be your head of the CIA. He could be your head of your NSC.
Folks, and again, this is just a smattering. This is just a sample. Kash Patel is somebody that we saved, or that I showed in a recent clip in a recent video because he's a relatively obscure name, but this guy is as cultish as it gets. This is what he had to say when Steve Bannon, the probable next chief of staff, teed him up and said, hey, listen, if you're part of the Justice Department, if you're part of the CIA, do you think we can actually go forward with prosecutions? Because this isn't just rhetoric. We're actually going after people. This is just a small sample of what Patel had to say.
We will go out and find the conspirators, not just in government, but in the media. Yes, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. We're going to come after you. Whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out.
Whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out. People in the government, people in the media. But by the way, it's not just the prospect of, because if you look at the report, and again, we'll look at some of it, it's multiple potential names for certain positions, okay? So while Stephen Miller may be the attorney general, so might this guy, Matt Gaetz.
But I don't ascribe to the theory that we just have to surrender sending criminal referrals because somehow Merrick Garland will never prosecute them. For many of the crimes that we are observing, the statute of limitations is 5 years. And so we could send criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. We go take the White House back, and you never know, David, it may be an Attorney General Matt Gaetz down the road or someone of my liking.
an Attorney General Matt Gaetz, there's not a single sane name on that list. Somebody else who might be Attorney General, the nation's chief prosecutor, is a guy named Mike Davis, who we talked about also in a recent video, a guy who threatened to indict, detain, denaturalize, and deport Mehdi Hasan, a progressive commentator who criticized him. Mehdi Hasan, this is on his official Twitter page. Mehdi Hasan is now on my list 2, indict, 4, detain, 6, denaturalize, and 3, deport. Stephen Miller, which they've discussed, that guy discussed in the first clip. I mean, this guy is absolutely repulsive. As a reminder, this is from Vanity Fair. They have a great reminder, a recap of who Stephen Miller is. As a matter of fact, the title is called "The Trump Administration's Angel of Darkness, Stephen Miller, Allegedly Wanted to Bomb Migrants Report." So he was the architect of the Trump administration's family separation plan. He oversaw a program in which literal infants were taken from their parents, a policy the president of the American Academy of Pediatrics said amounted to, quote, government-sanctioned child abuse, end quote, was said to, quote, actually enjoy, end quote, seeing photos of families being separated at the border, was reportedly behind the White House's decision to stop the Justice Department from striking a deal to pay for mental health services for the migrant families the Trump administration had separated, many of which included children who believed their parents had, quote, deliberately abandon them, and is to thank for the fact that as of December 2022, 120 children separated from their parents under Trump had yet to be reunited with their parents. Folks, I understand that some of you may be exhausted hearing about Trump and his fascism and his fascist plans, but I won't apologize, and nor should anyone else talking about this, because this is vital. We have to keep ringing the damn bell. This is not a drill. It's not a joke. It's not a meme. All available evidence indicates that this is a concerted full-court press towards fascism to satisfy the wounded pride of a megalomaniac, a malignant narcissist, a pathological liar, an utter buffoon who is probably literally the least qualified person for high office in this nation's history. And that's saying something when you think about the people in this nation's history. So again, we'll scroll through some of the report. Trump would fill the most powerful jobs in government with men like Stephen Miller, J.D. Vance of Ohio, Kash Patel, with the possible return of Steve Bannon. And we've talked about his plans to punish his critics, to potentially roll out the military. You've heard how Melania Trump really wants Tucker Carlson to be the vice president. Marjorie Taylor Greene has also been floated. Let's see, Stephen Miller, of course, potentially as the Attorney General, or the Secretary of Homeland Security, who would be responsible for enforcing immigration policy, or basically creating immigration policy. Mike Davis, we talked about. Steve Bannon, the White House Chief of Staff. Folks, this is a huge one. Steve Bannon has helped European fascists take power. He's outsourced. He's not just confined to the United States. This guy is as deranged as it gets as well. And the chief of staff is arguably the second most powerful role in government. And he was Trump's chief strategist, at least for a time. Then he started this War Room podcast, and he slowly worked his way back into Trump's graces. But other names you've probably not heard of. Johnny McEntee, Liz Cheney complains about him all the time. You have the guy, I'm blanking on his name, I think he's down here, Jeffrey Clark, this is the one, a former assistant attorney general for Trump, who he was under indictment. He's currently under indictment for helping scheme to steal the 2020 election for Donald Trump. This is not a freaking drill. And here's the way that a former, very close Trump associate, Cassidy Hutchinson, who was an assistant to Donald Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, I almost blanked on the name. This is what she had to say with respect to a vote for Trump.
I'm sure there's plenty of it down there nowadays.
Last night, Donald Trump said he will be a dictator on day one. Do you think he'll be a dictator on day two?
I think Donald Trump poses an extreme threat to American security and American prosperity. I think that a vote for Donald Trump is a vote for a fascist government.
A vote for a fascist government. You're not just making the most powerful person in the United States a fascist if you vote for Trump for president. You are also creating a fascist government, because he intends to populate that government's most powerful, influential positions with fellow fascist authoritarians, cultists, and sycophants. This is not a joke. People who know Trump intimately, his former allies turned critics, and people who have stayed with him till the end, people on either side of this are telling you, they're looking you dead in the face. Kash Patel, Steve Bannon, Cassidy Hutchinson, people who support Trump to this day, people who oppose Trump, who used to support him, they are telling you this is not rhetoric. This is a plan. So with that in mind, vote blue in November, no matter who. Joe Biden, Cenk Uygur, Marianne Williams, it doesn't matter. Dean Phillips, whoever is that Democratic nominee, that is the only way eligible voters can prevent fascism from taking over this country. No matter what your policy disagreements are, no matter how legitimate, we have to put the preservation of the Democratic Republic above literally everything. This is not a joke. Let me know what you think in the comments.